Diary entry, April 28th, 1969. I found a young woman whom I shall engage as our administrator. She is half English, half American, a graduate of Sarah Lawrence and the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. I shall sleep on it, but my present inclination is to grab her. Welcome to Women in Theater. I'm Linda Weiner, theater critic of Newsday, and our guest is Margot Harley, who was grabbed the next day by the great John Houseman, and with him shaped the likes of Kevin Kline and Patti LuPone at Juilliard's new drama division, then created the acting company, still the major touring classical theater in the country.
I went to work at Channel 13, but I really wanted to be in the theater. And someone there said to me, John Houseman is starting a drama school at Juilliard. And I thought to myself, what would I do there? I mean, I don't know what I would do, but they bugged me to get in touch with him, and I did. I sent him a letter, and very quickly he called me. And I went up to where Juilliard was, which was actually an international house at the time, opposite the old Juilliard building, and he was late. He was never late. I decided I had to go. I left. I was leaving because, I mean, he was so late, and I really had to go back to work, and I ran into him on the stairs, literally, physically ran into him. And if you remember, he was a large man. So obviously I went back up. I think he talked to me for 8 minutes. And then he hired me.
And then he wrote in his diary, "Dear diary, I met a girl today." I love that.
I think he was desperate because, I mean, it was the shortest interview one could possibly have. However, he made a very good choice.
John Houseman was critical to the success of the acting company. His artistic vision and fundraising style got the company up and running. But when it came to the business side of running a theater, producing a tour, hiring and supervising a staff, dealing with contracts and the myriad needs of young actors, it was Margot running the company on a day-to-day basis, and run the company she has for 43 years. David Schramm remembers that one often heard John Houseman bellowing, "Margot!" We all wondered why. I now know if you want it done with dedication, skill, and a lot of love, who you gonna call? Margot! In his later years, John moved to Malibu, but Margot was still here. And then in 1988, John Houseman, the ultimate Renaissance man, died, and the world lost an artistic genius. And Margot continued on. Mel Gusso, New York Times, 1996. 7 years after John Houseman's death and after a steeplechase course of obstacles, the acting company endures as the major touring classical theater in the United States under the sole leadership of Margot Harley. The acting company went on to win a Tony. Its early directors achieved great success, as did dozens of its actors, and Margot remains at the helm for 27 more years.
She's been able to keep this amazing tradition that John Houseman started through the Juilliard drama division. She's been able to keep that going with that kind of spirit and that tenaciousness. She's this little tiny, little bitty of a thing. I mean, just the strongest, the most determined, the most passionate, the most incredibly inspiring person I have ever met.
I feel not only in Margot and Jerry and everybody else that's involved in the company, who have been there since God knows when. I won't even begin to think about that. These people have dedicated their lives to this. So not only is it an amazing legacy for John Houseman, it's a legacy for everybody who's taken that legacy and moved it forward, and is still moving it forward.
Margot believes that one performance can change a life, and she's been responsible for thousands of performances that have reached more than 4 million people. Acting company actors have appeared in 141 productions that have toured to 48 states and 10 foreign countries under her leadership. Over 70% of those attending acting company performances never before had seen a play. Margot's determination changed that. Acting company alum Michelle Tauber says that because of Margot, tiny pockets of the U.S. have been afforded the joys of seeing great plays in their backyards. That is remarkable. That is Margot's legacy.
I remember one of my first moments with Margot was we had, our first production was Romeo and Juliet, and we had had a load-in, and the set was a little too far upstage for her taste. which is very important. When you're traveling on the road, you want these actors to be right in the audience lap, as close as you can get them to. But for lighting purposes, in this particular venue, we couldn't do that. So Margot was there, and she just tore into me no end, and it was unbelievable. I'd never experienced it before, and it was fantastic because it was very early on in our relationship, and it made me immediately focus on what my job was. And from that moment on, it was like total respect and understanding between the both of us.
It's heartening to know that it's still there and it's going strong. And it's all thanks to Margot Harley and the board, who have persisted against sometimes extraordinary odds.
When you meet Margot and when you work under her supervision and her guidance, you feel like you're reaching back to a time in the American classical theater in which the dedication to text, to language, to performance were at its pinnacle. But it's also her complete dedication to professionalism and nurturing young artists.
Alum Hamish Linklater remembers Margot as the holy terror of my tender years upon the boards. Emphasis on holy. Director Davis McCallum says, Margot is the toughest, the most relentless, with the biggest, most generous heart in the American theater. Margot Harley, producer, artistic leader, trusted friend and mentor to hundreds of actors and other theater professionals. For 43 years, she has worked tirelessly developing actors and audiences. Without question, she has succeeded.
Her dedication, her passion, her inspiration, her love of telling stories in the theater, and her love of actors transcends anything I could ever try and communicate. I love her deeply.
If it weren't for you and John and Juilliard and the acting company, I wouldn't be half the actor I am, and I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I continue to have. And I am forever grateful and in your debt. You know I love you. I hope the rest of your life, you and Lois, wander the earth and see the great places that exist and enjoy and revel in everything that you've done for all of us. I love you, Margot. The acting company will never, ever be the same.
We are joined tonight by the founder of the acting company, my good friend, Margot Harley, who after 43 years is stepping down as the head of this important theatrical institution.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, don't you want another 43 years at it, Margot? Aren't you having the time of your life?
Well, I am, and I probably would like a few more years, but I think, I think I might have died behind that desk if someone hadn't said, maybe it's time for the younger generation to take over.
To take over. Last question for you, since we're a nonprofit, what's the secret to fundraising? You've been a fundraiser most of your life, and everyone says, oh, they hate it, but you are clearly very good at it.
You have to be passionate about what you're trying to fundraise for. You have to be dogged, and you have to to do anything for which you have to fundraise, you have to be a gambler. You just have to gamble that you're going to get the money,
right.
Because we go into every year without any money at all.
But you've
and
got
we
the
have to
season
gamble
plan.
that we're going to raise a couple of $1 million in the course of the year.
No matter what her focus, Margot's passion has always been about mentoring actors, seeing them stretch and grow and succeed and contribute to the theater. And she has mentored some of the best. 400 actors working on stage, on TV, in film, heading college theater departments, and running theaters. Directors and designers as well. They thank you, Margot. We thank you. The theater thanks you. And no matter what the future holds, we know you'll still be here.